Good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of mathematics after a big gap. But gap is also sometimes necessary because we get a chance to revise old remedies, whatever we have learned. And this habit you have to make. There was a good question by one of my students. They asked me, sir, how do you recollect all those remedies? What is the formula? I said there is no formula. There is only one formula. You go on revising the things again and again, 1,000 times. Then you will never forget the remedy. And that's what we have to do. So whenever there is no class, it is always better to open YouTube channel, again go through the same remedy, read it or listen it again. If you will make a habit of doing this, then you will never forget the remedy. So this is what the introduction with which I am starting today's session. We'll learn very important remedy from plant kingdom, the Helleborus Niger. It's a remedy which is very useful in our acute, subacute practice. One must understand the depth of pathology which the Helleborus used to produce. If you are able to understand the pathologies, then you are going to utilize the Helleborus in a proper manner. I'll share a case when I was called by one of my patients to see a child who was admitted in children's hospital. Ask them to take a prior permission of the pediatrician and then only I will come over there. They took the permission from the pediatrician. Pediatrician said, why not to try homeopathy? That's what his sentence was there. And that's what very much necessary because that child was admitted over there in an unconscious state. He had a chicken pox 4 or 5 days back and he had a very high grade fever. After 4 or 5 days, the whole rash appeared all over the body, which was having a typical vesicular eruptions, some pustular, some subvesicular eruptions in the summer weather, and it was too burning. So they have shown it to some general practitioner who has given some allopathic medicines and he has asked him to apply the caladril over there. The calamine, lactocalamine to soothe for soothing purpose. The day they applied the calamine over there, next day he suddenly went into the some weird appearance, unconscious, sometimes coming into consciousness, but looking like this just. And even though you do this in front of him, you move any object in front of him, nothing used to happen. And again, he used to went into the same stuporous unconscious condition. So they got frightened. They have taken this to pediatrician and who admitted this fellow and all investigations were done. The child was shrieking in between, suddenly crying. And he used to cry a lot and then suddenly becomes calm and when again goes into the stuporous condition. Whenever he comes out of that stuporous condition, every time the looks were vacant. There is nothing as if some. So this condition persists. He was diagnosed as a case of viral encephalitis, meningitis with viral encephalitis. And patient was not recovering after giving proper medicinal treatment, allopathic medicinal treatment. He was on antibiotics, he was on even steroids. The Dexona was added in order to control the meningitis. Then they have added something like that, mannitol, something to remove the brain edema. And even he was, for his cries, sometimes he used to cry a lot or sometimes fever used to happen. They have given the paracetamol to child, but nothing was working. Fever was persistent, recurring again and again. And he was in such a dangerous state. And after 4 days, when there was no improvement, one of my patient who went over there to meet, and he told the patient's father, yes, you can at least take the help of homeopathy. And then they came to me and we have discussed, and then they said, yes, we will take permission and I will call you. And then they took the permission of the pediatrician. I was called over there and I saw the child. Few important things which I have observed. Just child was unconscious, lying over there. So I was sitting over there for I was examining him. I have examined his pulse. I have tried to stimulate his ear pinna. And after 10 minutes, he has opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, they were again like just looking in at one specific area, staring, and there was no response. So I'm just observing what he's doing, and there was one more thing which was happening along with that. When he was doing that, he was looking like that, and there was continuous motion of right leg and right arm over there. He was moving that continuously. Sometimes it used to stop, then he starts this movement, chewing motion of the as if something he is eating. This was going on. This was very interesting. These are the features which you have to catch in the patient. Then I looked towards one more thing which was there. He was admitted for 4 days. There were cracks at the corners of mouth. That was another thing which was observable sign in that child. So diagnosis, meningitis, viral encephalitis, post chicken pox, that is the rash which was suppressed and then it has happened like that. Then vacant looks, then shrieking, crying, and suddenly going into the stuporous state. Craving for cold water. Whenever you ask, you put a water or brings a glass in front of him, he used to drink it hastily, cold water. And many times he used to bite that. That was an irritation of meninges which used to cause that, or cerebral irritation used to cause that. He bites the glass also. So the whole story, this is the story after the suppressed exanthem. Second important thing, the child had very less urine, even though he was IV fluid, the urine was very dark colored, as if a coffee. So whole case was denoting few remedy. First remedy which you can think in, it might be Ginkgum metallicum. It might be a bryonia, it might be natrum mure, it might be a Helleborus. But when you think about this pathology, the cryencephalic, second meningitis, the encephalitis, cracks at the corners of mouth, continuous motion of one arm, one leg. Then there was a most important feature which is vacant looks. When these features are there, it denotes directly to the Helleborus. So I have given Helleborus 200, directly one drop on the tongue, and I have asked them to repeat it 2 more times and asked them what response next day. The second day, early in the morning, they called me. They said, Doctor, your remedy is working because his fever is decreased. He slept whole night very calmly. There was no problem during the sleep. And when he today morning, he waked up from the sleep, he came out and little bit smile he has given. So it was a good indication. So I said, I have given the placebo only to continue. And I said, just tell me again what happens in the evening. Till evening, there was no recurrence of the fever. And he started opening the eyes, giving reaction to the others. That was a unique thing. That was very important. So that indicates the meningeal irritation is coming down. That indicates that cerebral encephalopathy is getting control. And then he, on the third day, he developed again that exanthematous rash. It was very good. I asked him, and I told pediatrician also, and I have told that to the rest of the people over there, the attendants, that if rash comes, please don't apply that local calamine or nothing. Let it come out, even though it itches. So they were knowing that. That's why they have not applied anything. They asked, they sent me a photograph. Yes, this is how it looks. And then I said, nothing to be given. Let it come out. Let it appear. And as it appeared, he becomes fully conscious. There was no return of the fever, and child was completely recovered after that. The crash remained for 3-4 days, and then it vanished, and it got itself cured. And that was the natural progress of the Helleborus Niger, which that patient's meningitis, encephalitis, viral, that has settled with the Helleborus Niger. So it's a wonderful remedy. One must know and one must understand. There is one more case of um, craniopharyngioma, which I have started the case with this remedy. But whenever time permits, I will going to share that with you. That was interesting that that patient was absolutely brought out of blindness with the help of Helleborus Niger. But whenever time permits, I will going to share that. Today we'll start with directly with the Allen's notes. Open your kit, Allen's notes. The Helleborus Niger, the Christmas tree, family is Ranunculus. See the post constitution. Weakly delicate soric children, prone to brain troubles. Here is the action of the remedy. The remedy acts directly on the brain, very specifically mentioned over there. And what he says, prone to brain troubles like belladonna, like calcarea, like tuberculum, these are also the remedies in brain troubles. In acute state, belladonna is the wonderful remedy. The second sentence is very important. With serous effusion. So it indicates that it is a cerebral edema which develops over there. That is very important. Serous effusion. Bryony is one more remedy. The epis, epocinum, these are also remedies over there. But this is one remedy which one has to understand. The face, in case of Helleborus Niger, specifically how the patient looks like, they are melancholic, they are hopeful. Hopeful म्हणजे दुःखदायक, दुःखी कष्टी, despairing, nirash, silent with anguish. Anguish means suffering from the severe pain, anguish, yatana in Marathi. Melancholy after typhoid. So typhoid persists for certain days and patient goes into the melancholic state. Melancholy in girls at puberty, very important feature. So it looks like whether it is pulsatile or ignatia. Melancholy or when menses fail to return after appearing. So post menses comes and then there is a big gap and the girls becoming despaired. And that state of melancholia is there with Helleborus Niger. They are quite irritable, easily angered, consolation aggravate. Here it gets close to the ignatia and atrium, the sepia silicia. It has many features with natrum. The cracks at the corners of mouth is close to the natrum. So features you have to look and compare. But natrum is very, very deep acting remedy. Helleborus Niger is not like that. When you think about the Helleborus Niger is generally having 20 to 30 days action. It is it is not acute, it is not chronic, in between state, subacute, it's covered with Helleborus Niger. Does not want to be disturbed. It goes in favor of gelsemium, bryonia, again natremure. These are three remedies which you can think for the same thing. So We have to understand, we have to compare these remedies with one another, and we can find it out exactly. So what is the difference? If we think about natrum, it is a chronic persistent condition. If it is Gelsemium stage is the first stage of inflammation where patient goes into the dusky hue, dull, stupid, thirstless. That is very typical with the Gelsemium. Unconsciousness, not aware about the surrounding is unconsciousness. Is not around sensible. Stupid, stuporous condition. He is not understanding what he's talking, what he's doing. Answer slowly when questioned. So if you put up many questions, they answer very slowly. A picture of acute idiocy. Idiotic. You feel that child might be idiotic, but it is acute state. It is not chronic. Chronic is Beretta cup. It is very acute over here. This is what we have to understand. The difference between the two remedies. Beretta is very chronic remedy, deep acting remedy, where the idiocy is very deep. Here it is very acute, maybe because of the meningeal irritation, maybe because of cerebral irritation. Brain symptoms during dentition, belladonna, podophyllum. The belladonna is wonderful remedy in such types of condition. When grinding of teeth happens to be there, and then the irritability, the violence, belladonna is very close to it. Belladonna, it is very acute, comparatively subacute is Helleborus Niger. Threatening effusion like apis and tuberculin. Threatening means होऊ घातलेला, which is as if it is entering into that state. That is a threatening. Meningitis, inflammation of meninges. How it is? Meningitis is acute. Meningitis where the cerebrospinal meningitis is there. Meningitis might be tubercular in nature with exudation. Exudation is nothing but the protein-rich fluid, which you can find it out over there. Meningitis with paralysis, more or less complete. Meningitis with the cryencephalic. Cryencephalic, it is because of meningeal irritation. The child generally cries, shrieks. That irritation, they never understands why they are crying. That is irritating cries there with this meningitis. Vacant, thoughtless staring. Vacant, thoughtless staring. They looks in one direction and there is nothing thought behind it, and it stares and stares. And if even you put anything in front of them, their vision, they never understand. That is vacant look, vacant, thoughtless staring. Eyes are wide open, eyes are fully open, insensible to the light. If you try to use the side, if you want to confirm it with the light reflex, there is no reaction. Pupils are dilated, or sometimes it might be alternately dilated and alternately contracted. So these are all features which are related with the encephalitis and meningitis. Soporous sleep, very deep sleep. When they enters into sleep, soporous sleep, with screams, shrieks, and starts. Where they screams, their shrieks, they cries, they starts म्हणजे दचकणं. Hydrocephalus. How is the hydrocephalus? It is post-scarlatinal. After the scarlet fever, patient enters into the hydrocephalus condition. So this is very important feature. Post-scarlatinal or tubercular, which develops rapidly. So this remedy has a depth. It is even the subacute, it covers the tubercular miasm. Other remedies comparison, apis is there, the sulfur is there, the tuberculinum is there. Automatic motion of worm, one arm, one leg. If it is very specifically left arm, left leg, then it is bryony. Here it is not specific to one side. It is only one arm, one leg. Convulsions. Convulsions with extreme coldness of the body, except the head and occiput, which may be hot. So head is hot and rest of the body is cold, like arnica, like arsenic. But here it is associated with convulsions. Greedily swallows the cold water. If you give them cold water, they greedily swallows very fast, bites the spoon. They even bites the tumbler, but remains unconscious. Chewing motion of the mouth, very typical, very characteristic. They are not understanding what they are doing, but this movement is continuously there. It looks like that is a, it might be a reaction of some remedy. It looks like that. Chewing motion of the mouth, corners of mouth are sore, cracked, nostrils are dirty, sooty. Sooty means black, काजळीमुळे माखलेला. It is dark colored. काजळीमुळे माखलेला, sooty. Nostrils are dry, dirty and sooty and dry. This is one symptom which one should not forget. Here it looks very close to Aram, but here the things are different. Constantly picking his lips, clothes, or boring into his nose with his finger. Here it goes close to the Sina or Aram. Aram, it is because of nostrils which are inflamed, irritated. There is a discharge which is corroding and it is so painful, but still they want to bore the nose with fingers. They keeps their or they keeps their head under the pillow and rubs the nose over there. This is Aram. But in Aram triphyllum, it is when these things are there when patient is fully conscious. Here the patient is not fully conscious. That is the basic difference between two remedies. Boring head into the pillow, rolling from side to side, beating head with the hand. See, these are very important features. So boring the head under the pillow, rolling the head from side to side like this is very typical with the Helleborus children who are in unconscious mood. Beating head with the hands, they are doing this. That indicates that there is a definitely meningitis or encephalitis where the patient is doing this continuously. It is so painful. Diarrhea during acute hydrocephalus and dentition. So dentitional diarrhea during hydrocephalus, which is acute origin, diarrhea of pregnancy. Diarrhea is watery, clear, tenacious, colorless mucus, white jelly-like mucus, like frog spawn. Diarrhea involuntary. Urine is red, black, scanty, coffee ground, sediment, suppressed urine in brain troubles and dropsy. Albuminous. Urine is albumin. So this is a failure secondary to the scarlet fever, secondary to fever, where there is patient may go into the ARF or sometimes it is suppressed urine which happens to be there because of it. Dropsy. Dropsy is generalized edema. Dropsy of brain, dropsy of chest, abdomen. Dropsy after scarlatina. After the scarlet fever, the patient goes into the dropsy. Dropsy after intermittents with fever, debility, suppressed urine from suppressed exanthema. So when there is suppressed exanthema and patient is entering into the dropsy, you must think about the Helleborus Niger. Like Apis mellifica, like Ginkgum metallicum. Ginkgum, it goes into the brain as well as in kidneys. Both levels you can get the Ginkgum. Ginkgum is also a remedy whenever you bring back again the rash with the help of medicine or all discharges whenever comes out, the Ginkgum feels better. Relationship, compare Apis, Apocynon, both remedies for brain complaint. Arsenic belladonna, bryonia, digitalis, lachesis, sulfur, tuberculinum, Ginkgum metallicum in brain and meningeal affection. So in short, all these remedies are having very specific action on the brain covering that is meninges. And here you have to compare, you have to understand what is the difference between the APs, what is the difference between Apocynon and Helleborus, and what is the, how will you reach to that? So unless and until you understand these keynotes, you cannot come to the remedy. So we have to understand the depth of these pathologies which are present in Helleborus Niger. If one is familiar with this pathology, he can watch, he can see that child, such types of child in the ICUs, specifically in pediatric hospitals, and many times, unfortunately, they don't have direct weapons to fight against this. Homeopathy plays a very vital role in ICCU. So this is a good remedy. One must understand in depth. Read it from the Borix Mata Remedica. There is no complementary mention for this remedy. The action is mentioned that this remedy has action nearly about 20 to 30 days. So that's all regarding the Helleborus Niger. Whenever time permits, I will share that case of craniopharyngioma whenever in future. So that's all for today. Any query, question is there, we'll have a chat. Otherwise, we'll conclude.
Sir, is there any comparison with belladonna, sir?
Yes,
That
belladonna
that
is,
violence
huh?
that violence is sometimes indicates suddenly that shearing, all these indicates belladonna also. I think so, sir. Is
Belladonna
there
is
comparison?
very acute is belladonna, subacute is Helleborus. Belladonna, there is violence, definitely. Belladonna goes into the same state, acute meningitis, acute encephalitis, belladonna might be, but belladonna shows more violence than the Helleborus. Helleborus never shows that directly. So we have to understand the acuteness and subacuteness between the remedies. Belladonna comes in early phases. Whenever it happens very early, you can think of belladonna, where headache is the prominent symptom associated with that. And that headache, where patient generally not enters directly into the unconsciousness. So that's why we have to understand specifically the belladonna state. Belladonna you can catch very early in day 1, day 2, belladonna. It is not 2, 3 days, 4 days have been passed and patient is entering into the dull state. Then question belladonna concept finishes. Then we never think of belladonna. Belladonna, there is no thirst during fever. That is very characteristic. Thirstlessness during fever, where belladonna is absolutely comes opposite to the Helleborus niger order. So there are many remedies with which you can compare. Lachesis, yes, lachesis we can think about. But lachesis is again a remedy where the infective focus is very marked. Septicemia, septicemic state where sometimes, many times there is a bleeding, hemorrhages, discharges, and patient is going into the septic states. The lachesis is the very important remedy in such types of cases. Here, when you see such types of cases, then you will definitely recollect when to use the lachesis and when not to use the lachesis. Lachesis pathology, you can find it out, the typical dusty hue on the face, the purple colored appearance over there, which is characteristic of the lachesis. Here, in Helleborus niger, you get generally patient entering into brain troubles more common than in a septicemic state.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So thanks a lot attending the session. We'll meet again tomorrow with another remedy. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.